Richie, and you are releasing in two of the ball and of New Stark.
Football show is coming up shortly. Dan is back in studio with us, Richie as well. We're going to be talking to Tom Kundert, who is a Portugal correspondent for World Soccer, about Portugal and where they stand. They are the European champions heading into tomorrow night's huge game against Spain. We haven't spoken about them because we've been obsessed with Spain for the last 2 or 3 days, so we will chat about that during the football show. We'll also hopefully check in with Kevin Kilbane, who is in Moscow, was in the Luzhniki Stadium. He's disappeared.
He's disappeared.
No way, really?
I can't say too much more, but he's disappeared for the moment. I'm sure he's fine. He'll be fine.
Maybe someone who didn't get a tip off from his attribution.
Yeah, well, he'll have learned his lesson. Richie is back with us, so the decision has been made, I hear.
Yep. We'll get to that in a moment, but first the US Open.
Oh, he's leading with the golf.
See there.
Golf Weekly available now on all reputable news sites.
After Shane Lowry's birdie with that monstrous putt at the 12th hole, his third, things have gone rapidly pear-shaped. A triple bogey at the 13th, his fourth hole, has seen him drop back to 4 over par, currently playing his 6th at the moment. Graham McDowell is a shot worse off. He's 5 over, while of the others out on course, Tiger Woods playing the 9th is currently 3 over par, and Dustin Johnson has taken share of the lead out on course. He is on 2 under par as the world number 1, alongside his fellow Americans Jason Duffner and Russell Henley. As we know, Rory McIlroy giving himself a hell of a job to try and make the cut tomorrow at Shinnecock Hills. 10 over par, following a round of 80 today for the world number 6. The decision from Antoine Griezmann, as I say, we'll get to in a moment. But Julen Lopetegui is compared to being sacked as Spain manager on the eve of the World Cup to the death of his mother. The now ex-Spain head coach was unveiled as the new Real Madrid boss this afternoon. Real president Florentino Perez says the sacking even of Lopetegui by Spanish Federation chief Luis Rubiales was disrespectful to the club. Meanwhile, Sergio Ramos cut short his press conference with Spain today. The captain said fielding questions constantly about Lopetegui felt like being at a funeral. Of course, Spain face Portugal in Sochi tomorrow. Substitute Denis Cheryshev struck twice as Russia opened their campaign in fine style. The hosts thrashed Saudi Arabia by 5-0 at Moscow's Luzhniki Stadium. Now for Antoine Griezmann's decision, Nathan.
I don't care anymore.
Suspense has been built up.
Are you trying to replicate what I would have had to go through if I was sitting down and watching this online?
No, because you would have had to go through different shots of me riding a horse and also me falling asleep in a car.
Yeah.
And twiddling.
Why was Antoine
playing Fortnite?
Can I just ask, this was made by Gerard Piqué's media company or something. Has this been planned for a couple of months?
Oh, it was chronological.
God, yeah.
When did he ride the horse?
Towards the end of April, I think it was.
He was riding a horse.
How do you know
he
was riding the horse in April?
That's what it said. It said April, horse.
And where was he riding the horse to?
Spain.
As opposed to France, obviously.
Yeah.
But
why was he on a horse?
Why not?
Why?
People get on horses for,
Was he topless?
It was showing the agony that he was going through.
It
was a video diary of the torment that this poor, rich,
put upon
footballer was suffering, and him pensive shots of him,
what was he wearing?
Talking to his brother. Oh well,
different clothes
and different
sports
days.
Casual at some points. He was in a photo shoot at one stage.
It ends with him smiling at the stadium, at the Wanda Stadium, just smiling at the...
It's the most bizarre ending. He doesn't necessarily go, oh, by the way, I'm staying at Atletico Madrid. He saved that for his tweet. Instead, he's just staring at the Wanda Metropolitano, grinning like a Cheshire cat.
I think he did have one line, I think Rafa out there I think he did have one line to I'm staying
Rafa
or something.
Yeah.
I did say I'm staying.
Yeah,
because I was thinking maybe there was another bit to come where he's staring at the Wanda and then his head is suddenly turned and he's like teleported.
No, the thing about it is,
I think they filmed 2 endings. That was one of the other theories.
Did they? Oh yeah. So he's staying.
Staying.
The end of this for another season.
It was quite obvious from the get-go that he would be staying because they wouldn't have been allowed a lot of the shots from inside the Wanda, I would imagine, without the say-so of Atletico beforehand. So they would have proofed this, cleared this, and known that he's staying. So
that's good, isn't it?
Nonsense.
I think it's a good thing that he's staying.
Yeah.
Atletico are a great side.
Didn't need all this though.
He's just, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a PR team that thought this was a great decision. This shows his ultimate loyalty. He's so loyal to this club, he's willing to make a documentary that shows him willing to leave it or thinking about leaving it, but he wasn't really going to leave.
He didn't leave. He could have gone to Manchester United, he could have gone to Barcelona, and he said, no, I like what we're doing here. And I'm going to hang around for another season.
Let's make a documentary about what I think.
What's wrong with that?
Me riding a horse, falling through.
It's his brand. Paul Carrington, when he sat in that very seat, said, promoting the brand.
It's all about the brand, there's no question. But are people talking now about his loyalty to...
Why are you doing that League of Ireland podcast, Dan? It's about the brand. I'm the brains of the League of Ireland. Come listen to my podcast.
Yeah.
It's about the brand.
Well, obviously, Nathan, that's clearly the game plan here. But I mean, the fact is that
Nathan is robbing Bobby Kerr's wardrobe.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh. But
Good comeback.
But what Griezmann has succeeded in doing is people
Bide
talking
my time on that.
Are people talking about him staying at Atletico Madrid, or talking about him being a bit of a prat?
I don't think people care. I think people move by this very quickly. It just leaves Barcelona looking like they're.
Well, that's for them.
Idiots, really, yeah.
And he can never join them now.
No, Jesus, no.
No.
All right, so it's just, did they announce, is it a 1-year contract or?
Doesn't even mention contract details. Not yet, anyway.
I think it was long term.
Yeah.
I think it was long
And
term.
Atletico Madrid have also signed Thomas Lemar, so it does look as though they're
getting their act together a bit.
all right. Well, that's good. Anything else happening, Richie?
Yeah, Kevin Walsh making one change to his Galway side for Sunday's Connacht football final, with Paul Conroy replacing Peter Cook in midfield, and Lester Ryan has departed the Kilkenny panel. The 2014 All-Ireland winning captain wasn't part of the matchday squad for their win over Wexford last weekend.
All right, cheers for that, Richie. Time for the football show.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever BoyleSports app for exclusive price enhancements on the biggest games around. Download it now. BoyleSports. Time to play.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
How are you? Welcome along to the World Cup football show. It is finally underway. Russia 5, Saudi Arabia 0. Didn't see that one coming, Dan.
No, the Russians didn't see it coming. I mean, well, they did.
Unless they did.
Maybe they did. We'll watch that documentary someday.
20 years' time. Nobody suspected a thing.
No. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, even Vlad and the lads looked happy enough the way things proceeded. But yeah, they're often a willing trade. It does sort of matter for the mood of the tournament if the hosts are going along okay. Like if they had completely bombed.
If they'd absolutely bombed, if they ended up losing all 3 games, the atmosphere, I'd imagine, around Moscow wouldn't have been pleasantly warm.
Yeah, I think you can only imagine that, the people who are on the fence about their sort of football loyalties, and I mean there is a passionate football community in across Russian football, but it doesn't extend to the general populace from sort of reading up and watching stuff and. So the people that are on the fence, it's a bit like the people in South Africa who weren't that interested in football, but once the team's gone well, they sort of get on board with it, and it is important.
The turning point, it seems, was when Jagoev got injured and Cheryshev came on. So he's one of only 2 players, Cheryshev, who's been playing his football outside of Russia. They brought everybody back home for the last few years, so they have this team unity. He's quite an interesting figure. He scored 2 brilliant goals. Particularly the second one, which is probably going to be one of the goals of the tournament. Spent some time at Real Madrid. His father played in Spain and basically grew up in Spain. And I think 10, 12 years ago said, I don't feel particularly Russian. I feel Spanish. I would like to play for Spain, but somehow his head was turned.
I'd say he's feeling pretty Russian at the moment, I would have thought, Yeah, like it is strange because like the expectations were that low and spectacularly low, and you can point to the fact, well, a lot of them are based at home, but I think it was actually discussed. I think there was a guest on the show last night that they had that fantastic Russian team in 2008. Do you remember how exciting they were? And Arshavin was to the forefront of it. But again, that team, it wasn't as if they were sort of great travellers either in terms of their career. In fact, the ones that did, between Arshavin and Pavlyuchenko and others, sort of with mixed success. But you do watch the Russian teams in the Champions League and so on. Granted, there's generally a heavy flavour of overseas players in all their squads, but I mean they're competitive enough. I think the guy Zuba scored within that Zenit team that might have played in Dock a couple of years back in the Europa League, and they generally play at good level of competition at European football, so they couldn't have been as bad maybe as people expected, but at the same time, and again, maybe that run of friendlies for a host, it's easy to say after the event, but that run of friendlies for a host team coming into the tournament, it's a weird limbo for like 2 years with no qualifiers and games that really don't mean anything other than playing for places or sort of generic stuff like that, so maybe a bit of competitive intensity is what they need to sort of bring sort of something out of them.
I was saying to John Giles earlier, one of the great things about the World Cup is a win like that changes the total dynamic of that group, because Egypt and Uruguay look to be the 2 strongest teams. Egypt mainly because of the genius of Mo Salah. The news today is that he is going to be fit to start, which is great for the tournament. And Uruguay, who've done pretty well over the last couple of World Cups and have made a lot of headlines certainly over the last couple of World Cups. But if there's a winner in that game tomorrow, suddenly the loser's under enormous pressure because Russia's goal difference is going to be is brilliant.
Yeah.
And Russia now have a little bit of momentum behind them as well.
Yeah, no, big time. It's a curious one. I mean, I was looking at that group before, and I mean, you know, not everyone bets, so you can't reduce it to that. But like Egypt were a reasonable price to get through, but they've drifted since purely because that Russia win. But you would think, okay, now Salah looks like he might play, but there was talk would Salah be maybe rested or minded a bit in that first game. But if Russia weren't all that Egypt could almost risk not sort of tilting Salah into that game, but think they will take 6 from the remaining 2. You know, that would be the target. But in a strange way, like Egypt play Russia next, don't they? So if they could sort of draw tomorrow, somehow get a draw against Russia, and then they have a chance to sort of a bit of a turkey shoot in the last game, like 5 might be enough. So it definitely changes the whole dynamic of the group there. And that game tomorrow, the two teams aren't going into it with watching a crap game today going, we're grand. It puts a bit of, they're both going to feel the heat, I think. Yeah,
it'll be interesting. That's the opening game tomorrow, is that match between Egypt and Uruguay. That one kicks off at 1 o'clock. Maybe Russia aren't all that, though, is the other thing.
Well, it could be complete.
Maybe Saudi Arabia are just the worst team in this tournament.
Could be just complete, like this collateral form, and that can lead you down the wrong
opening day.
Can lead you down the wrong path completely. But they still they looked okay in patches, you know, and they do have the fervent home crowd, and they have that advantage, and that can carry you a long way against a team that's maybe, if any of the teams are coming into. I mean, if Egypt lose tomorrow, you can just see them being suddenly in danger of melting, really, when it comes to the second game.
Is Morocco-Iran a game people can skip?
It's probably one of the contenders. I was seeing today, Iran kept clean sheets in 14 of their 18 qualifiers on the way here, including 12 clean sheets in a row. Now, again, you can debate the quality of opposition, but still, that sort of suggests that they're a team who sets out their stall in a particular way.
Morocco are pretty similar.
Yeah, like their respective stats like wouldn't sort of make you think this is going to be extraordinary, but it can surprise you sometimes, the tournament, when it comes around. Like teams lose
this is definitely a sense, and that's why even before all this Spanish furore blew up, that this Spain-Portugal game felt like one of the most important, probably the most important group stage game, because if there's a loser in this, Morocco and Iran are those sort of dogged teams that could pick up a couple of draws, grind out a win that wasn't expected, and suddenly one of the two big guns, one of the last 2 European champions, ends up going out.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like, just the dynamic of the group gives you, if one of the teams can get a win, it might put them in a position where they can sort of try and grind their way through. But it's a bit early, but you can also look at the combinations, because that group is obviously going to be paired up with Group A, you know, in terms of the combinations for in terms of going through. So I don't know, Spain, do they want to sort of end up facing Uruguay or facing a Russia? It's still actually a soft enough end of the draw in some ways. There is a potential that's why I think people fancied Spain, because if they could win the Portugal game, there was a sort of a route there for them far into the competition without playing an outstanding side.
And here, glorious failure to Spain in the last 16. The Russians can put up with that if they.
I think they'd totally take that. Yeah.
What game are you most looking forward to?
Most of the 3 tomorrow?
No, of the entire stage.
Of the group stages. I don't really have a mad sort of preference. I mean, Portugal-Spain is the obvious answer.
Argentina-Croatia. It's going to be a great game.
You think?
Oh, you gotta love the Croatians.
Well, actually, you mentioned earlier that Croatia-Nigeria game is just one of those games that has the potential to be a classic. Like, you will have a couple of games that completely surprise you.
Costa Rica-Serbia 1 o'clock Sunday.
The Serbs are not bad to watch. You know, I know we have a bit of previous with them, but like, they couldn't defend. Like, that was the real disappointing thing about. I mean, all their games were high scoring in qualifying, pretty much, apart from the win in Dublin, which is the really frustrating thing. But their games with Austria were fairly up and down, weren't they? There was like a 3-2, I think.
Yeah.
And
similar against Wales.
Wales had loads of chances against them, so they'll give teams chances. Costa Rica, I mean, 4 years ago they were a bit of a grueler to watch. I mean, our old Danish friends, I'm going to Denmark-France in the groups. It's probably the best game I'm going to in the groups, but it is the last game of the group, so there's always that fear that it looks great and then you get there and it's a dead rubber. A bit like England-Belgium, you could be playing for position, which could be significant, but if they go to form in the first two, that sort of heavyweight game actually isn't a heavyweight game at all, as much as it might be.
All right, let's talk Portugal, because it is all about Spain, Portugal tomorrow evening. I'm joined on the line by Tom Kundert, who is the Portugal correspondent for World Soccer. Evening, Tom.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Not too bad. So, how has the Portuguese camp been? It's been somewhat quieter, I suspect, than what's been going on in the Spanish camp. They must be delighted with all this.
Well, relatively speaking, Portugal have also had their problems, of course, and this sporting crisis never seems to end, and a few more players have terminated their contract.
Yeah, well, you talk to us about that. So before we get into how Portugal are actually going to get on and how they've developed since Euro 2016, for anyone who doesn't know the issue with Sporting Lisbon and some of the most valuable footballers in Europe attempting to revoke their contracts and who may well be free agents this summer, can you tell us what's happened over the last couple of months at Sporting Lisbon?
Yeah, well, it's just been absolute chaos. I mean, it all started about a month ago when there was very bad blood between the president and the players, because basically the president had publicly criticised them on social media, and then they responded, and that all created quite a bad atmosphere. And then precisely 1 month ago, on the 15th of May, their training complex was invaded by, well, you can't even call them supporters, basically 50 ultras, thugs, who just stormed the complex, went straight to the changing rooms and basically roughed up a lot of the players. Some of them were quite badly injured. There was pictures of Bas Dost, for instance, his head cut open. And so that obviously precipitated matters. And a lot of these players have, like you just said, have legally, unilaterally rescinded their contract, or at least that's what they're trying to do. That's going to go through the courts now. And this involves a lot of Portugal's, top players. That's four sporting players who are in Russia. Two of them absolutely key players for Portugal, the goalkeeper Rui Patricio and holding midfielder William Carvalho, who will both be starters tomorrow. They're two of these four players. And so, there's a lot of question marks about what their mental state will be like. Some people say, well, perhaps it's actually the best place for them to be, far from Lisbon at the moment, just focusing on the World Cup. But it's certainly not the ideal preparation.
Yeah, it's such an unprecedented situation as well. We all know what's gone on with Spain, and Sergio Ramos was out in front of the media today and cut it short, getting pissed off with constant questions about Lopetegui and the late change in management. And this is such a huge story, I would imagine, in Portugal. Has this been dominating all the press conferences regarding the Portuguese players? Has everyone been asked about this? Is this the bigger story rather than the actual Spain game?
Well, as far as the press goes, certainly, it's been making headlines almost every day, even above the World Cup stuff. But it was very interesting because at the Portugal camp, which was about 3 weeks ago, they started here on just the outskirts of Lisbon. And every single day, there was a short press conference with one player. It's about 3 or 4 minutes. This player was brought before the journalists, and they were asked a lot of questions. And it was rotational. So every day there was a different player. So maybe there was 15 or 16 or 17 players faced the press. Not one of the four sporting players were asked. And so I think that's quite significant. They're obviously protected, and they were everyone knew that if they came up in front of the journalists, they'd just be peppered with those questions. And so basically they were protected in that sense.
So Portugal come into this tournament as the reigning European champions. They ground their way through European 16, had their moment at the Stade de France with Eder coming off the bench. He's not in the squad this time. How much of a turnover has there been? Like, quite simply, you look at it and it seems as though that they have gained offensively since Euro 2016, but maybe defensively, which was their real strength in that tournament, they're not quite there now.
Perhaps. I think the interesting thing is you're absolutely right. There has been a big turnover, and when you consider that, of course, was Portugal's greatest moment in their football history, it's quite surprising in some ways that of the 23-man squad in France, only 13 of them are in Russia. So, it's, basically half the squad has been renewed. But, I'd also agree with you. Most of the injection of youth has come from the attacking half. Some very exciting players. For instance, Bernardo Silva wasn't in France. Of course, I'm sure you all know about him. He had a great season at Manchester City. Gonzalo Guedes, who had an absolutely brilliant debut season at Valencia. And Bruno Fernandes, who was superb for Sporting. Those three players are certainly very exciting players that give Portugal a lot of firepower. And it's interesting because a lot of people here in Portugal are saying, and I think I'd agree with them, that this squad is probably actually stronger than the Euro 2016 winning squad. There are issues, and you put your finger on it there as well. Central defence, that's really calling that a veteran central defensive partnership is an understatement. They're all 35 plus, apart from a young Benfica lad there who probably would be fourth choice. And so, if they come up against sides with a lot of pace, that could be an issue. But Portugal really, even in Euro 2016, they defended. You're right, they defended brilliantly, really. And Fernando Santos, he bases his whole ethos as an international manager, and has had tremendous success at Greece and in Portugal on having a very tight defence. And it's really the way the team defends, not necessarily the personnel. So I don't expect Portugal to be too different this time round, although perhaps just with the players they have and these exciting youngsters, it could be a bit more easy on the eye.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, with that attacking threat that they have, or the extra attacking threat, does that change Cristiano Ronaldo's role in any way, or is it still built around him, the team, in terms of the attacking shape?
Yeah, well, he'll be up front and he'll be partnered by probably Gonzalo Guedes or Andre Silva, but I think Guedes has just edged in front because he's been superb in the last few friendlies. But yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo, it's just his natural evolution. Everyone knows when he first burst onto the scene, he was like this, swashbuckling winger who basically just tried to beat every single opposition player several times, to do it all on his own. And for a lot of years, he was carrying Portugal, but that's not the case anymore. He's got a lot of really top-class talent there. And of course, as we all know, Ronaldo has really turned into just a penalty box predator now. And I think he's got the people there to provide the bullets. So obviously, he will be, absolutely crucial to Portugal's chances, but perhaps not as key as he has been in the past. And we just need to look at the Euro 2016 final, when Portugal won that, when he went off just in the first few minutes. So Portugal aren't as much as Ronaldo plus another 10, which I think they're accused of for a lot of years, and perhaps rightly so. But I think nowadays, there's lots of threats for the opposition. If they just focus on Ronaldo, then I think they could have trouble from the likes of Gonzalo Guedes, Bernardo Silva, João Mario. A lot of really, really talented, skillful attacking players in there.
So if the way Fernando Santos sets up and wants his team to play is a full 11 defensive style almost, that everybody has to work hard around the pitch when you don't have the ball, and with Ronaldo at this age of his career, you're not going to get that from that central position. And if it is an ageing defence and there are the more creative players, you're probably relying on a good engine in midfield. And one of the great stories of Euro 2016 was the emergence at the time of Renato Sanchez, and we all wondered where he would go and just how great he could become. And it's been a nightmare a couple of years, so much so that he's not even in the squad for this tournament, having barely featured for Swansea during their relegation this season. So who's going to be in that, I guess, engine room, as you might call it, for Portugal? Who are the players that are really going to drive this side forward?
Yeah, well, I think even at Euro 2016, Fernando Santos, he liked to pick a narrow midfield without too many natural wide players, and I think he'll do the same trick, especially tomorrow against Spain, because of course we all know that's their strength. They're just so good in midfield that they just make the opposition chase shadows for most of the game if you're not careful. And Fernando Santos has said exactly that. It's very important for Portugal to get possession of the ball, not to let Spain dominate possession. So I think we'll have the William Carvalho and João Moutinho at the base of midfield, and it'll be absolutely crucial how they manage to stifle, hopefully, from a Portuguese point of view, Iniesta and Isco. And then you'll have players like João Mario and Bernardo Silva who actually start in the wide positions, but they'll probably be cutting into the middle quite a lot, and just basically to try and pack that midfield. And like I said, Gonzalo Guedes has been superb in his last friendlies, has actually been playing as Ronaldo's partner up front, but I wouldn't be surprised if he drops back a bit to the left side of midfield because, again, allowing João Mario to play in the centre and really pack that midfield to try and counter Spain's biggest strength. So Portugal have got the tools to be very attacking and very exciting, or more attacking and more exciting this tournament. But I think tomorrow, specifically tomorrow, they're playing against a lot of people's favourites. Well, before events this week, anyway, a lot of people's favourites to win the whole thing. So I think tomorrow there's not much doubt that Portugal will play quite a cautious game.
Has the atmosphere, the expectation around Portugal, is it very different now to where it was 2 years ago, 4 years ago, looking back at recent decades, because you are now the European champions of what they achieved 2 years ago? Is there a renewed confidence in the international side and what maybe they can go and achieve, and the managerial brilliance of Fernando Santos, that they have something there that they can go and maybe contend for a World Cup, or is that just totally unrealistic?
No, it's not unrealistic, and I think that's fair. I think it's interesting because if you asked that question the day after the Euro final, 2016 final, I think Portugal, the whole country just went berserk, obviously, at winning the Euro 2016. But lots of people were so excited because a lot of those key players in that team were very young players who were expected to kick on and develop and be even better now. And it's very interesting that a lot of them, you mentioned one there, Renato Sanchez, it just hasn't happened. He's had a very disappointing, he's had a disaster, really, hasn't he, the last 2 seasons. Then you also had Rafael Guerreiro, the left back, who is in Russia, but he's really had his last 2 seasons disrupted by injury. João Mario, I just mentioned, he's had 2 pretty disappointing seasons. So this kind of feeling that, we're going to, kick on and become really a major team for maybe even better than the Euro 2016 team and be a contender at all the future tournaments, that kind of suffered a bit of a hit. And Portugal's recent friendlies before the very last friendlies were actually quite disappointing. So I'd say, and we had this centre-back problem, so people were a little bit pessimistic, certainly in relation to 2 years ago. But having said that, everything seems to have come together quite nicely in this training camp. The friendlies, Portugal played better and better in the last 3 friendlies. They were very impressive against Belgium and then against Algeria. The centre-back partnership does seem to still be working, like it was 2 years ago. Pep, we can't forget Pep. Although he's 35, he was Real Madrid starting centre-back for a decade. You don't do that unless you're a very, very good player. And Jose Font, he's looked quite good the last couple of friendlies. So, the potential problems Portugal have seem to have been a bit mitigated. A lot of excitement again. Portugal, they won their first tournament ever. They proved a lot of people here, especially in Portugal, thought Portugal would never win a major tournament because of their mentality. They get far, they can play some beautiful football, but when it comes to crunch, they're just not mentally strong enough. They proved 2 years ago that they are. So, let's see what happens.
How strong is the relationship between Fernando Santos and Cristiano Ronaldo?
Rock solid. They absolutely, it seems the perfect manager for getting the best out of Ronaldo and all the players, really. Fernando Santos, it's been an incredible success because when he was made Portugal manager after Paulo Bento was sacked, wasn't that much enthusiasm, to be perfectly honest. He's a veteran manager. He won 1 championship at Porto. But that was at a time when basically any manager who went to Porto would win the league probably, and so he's a very well respected manager. He's not very controversial, and it's quite an interesting background. He's very religious. He's actually a trained engineer as well, but he's just proved to be the absolute perfect pick for Portugal. He's been superb. I think probably the biggest the biggest achievement he's managed to bring to the Portugal squad, and all the players talk about this constantly, is just such a good spirit among them. They all really love turning up for the Seleção and really look forward to it. However they're doing it at their clubs, they're doing great. If they're doing badly, they all really like coming together. That's so evident. You can see in the way they train, the way they joke around with each other, and he's really responsible for that. He's created that spirit. And of course, don't forget Euro 2016. A lot of people criticised the way Portugal won that, but you can't keep winning in extra time and on penalties unless you've got an amazing spirit, and that's what they've done. So and that's showed that they've got that.
Like, is he a revered figure now in the sense that his judgment is rarely questioned, that win has now bought him, I don't know, the sort of the credit in the bank that he can sort of escape a certain amount of criticism, or is there still sort of a fierce scrutiny on everything he's doing?
No, I think he's very close to sainthood in Portugal, I would say. He's absolutely revered. And because of his record as well as winning the Euro, in 29 competitive matches, he's only lost one. It's an amazing record. Portugal, as you may remember, they've got a very good record for qualifying for tournaments since 2000. They haven't missed one. But a lot of them, they struggled to qualify. They got through the playoffs 3 times successively before 2016. But since Fernando Santos has been there, he's played 17 qualifiers. He's won 16 of them. So he's just been, not playing fantastic football all the time. He's been absolutely superb. And you know what it's like being a national team manager. It's everyone thinks they know better. Everyone's got an opinion. So it almost doesn't matter what you do, you're going to get some criticism. But the criticism he gets is really pretty minute, and it's not surprising given his results.
Good stuff. How far do you think they're going to
go? Good question. Yeah, I think a lot will depend on tomorrow. It's interesting, I was just listening to you before I came on, and I agree 100% with what you were saying about the draw. I think whoever wins this group could go very far. Well, we'll have a better chance of going further, I think, because it's definitely seems to be an easier side of the draw. And whoever comes second in this group will probably get France in the quarterfinals, and that is a big ask. I think if Portugal do finish second and get France in the quarters, I think that would be a very tough hurdle to get past. So I'm saying if they finish second, quarterfinals. If they manage to get the better of Spain, who knows, semi-finals or maybe even a run to the final.
All right, good stuff. Tom Kundert there from PortuGOAL. Thanks a lot for taking the call. Enjoy the game tomorrow.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What do you think? Portugal, semi-finals, finalists?
Yeah, I mean, they have that knockout ability. That's the thing. You
look at Pepe and think 35, but actually a lack of pace isn't as big an issue generally in international football. A little bit of know-how. Really
definitely, 100%. A bit of savvy, it can take you a hell of a long way. And I mean, they've shown it themselves. They are the example that they can look to. They're not learning from someone else. So, I think if they can somehow get to the top of the group, as Tom mentioned, they've got a great opportunity. Even against France, France could have a bit of
They beat them last time.
Exactly.
So.
They could have the Indian sign over them.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating tomorrow night just to see how Spain react, because we were talking about John Giles. You can listen to it all back on offtheball.com, because you can look at Spain and think they've so many successful, experienced players that they can bang heads and they come out and say, let's do it for ourselves. Let's have this grand finale to our international careers. Or it can be a case that Ramos is piping up or Piqué is piping up and the other lads going, well, what's your man suddenly doing all the talking for?
100%. And as John said too, Hierro's going to have his own ideas as well. It's only natural. He's someone who's been in football.
Well, he could have been there for the last year going, why isn't Asensio starting every game?
Absolutely. He's not going to come in and go, well, whatever he was saying, let's just keep doing that. I don't think someone who's been in the game for that long is suddenly going to become that sort of withdrawn figure.
All right, that is the 7 o'clock game tomorrow evening?
That is 7 o'clock,
That'd be nice. All right, we'll take a quick break and then we're going live to Moscow. We're going to talk to John Duggan.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever BoyleSports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. BoyleSports. Time to play.
Bobby's Late Breakfast.
This Sunday I'll chat with comedian and actor John Kenny about being the unbelievable and being back on stage with his new play. We roll back the years to the Mayo curse and ask if it's about to be broken. We'll have live music and live food. Plus, The Departed is in the cultural toolbox.
Bobby's Late Breakfast.
Join me this Sunday morning at 9 and let me ease you into your Sunday.
On News Talk.
Hi there. Here I am again at the 1933 Furniture Company in Navan. Well, you do have to get around to keep up with the latest styles and trends. and the 1933 Furniture Company is certainly worth the journey. Take their new range of Natuzzi sofas in soft Italian leather. Absolutely beautiful. From Parker Knoll and Neptune to Halo Living and more, you get real quality here at comfortable prices. The 1933 Furniture Company, Navan. Because good furniture is hard to find. Sale now on.
Hi, Gavin Duffy here. Tickets from just €59 plus booking fee for my Smart Marketing Seminar at the Gate Theatre Dublin, July 17th, are now on sale through eventbrite.ie. If you want to boost your sales, Gavin Duffy's Smart Marketing Seminar is an absolute must-attend event. The 2.5-hour seminar will give you all the do's and don'ts, tips and tricks, and the tried and tested of affordable advertising for all SMEs. Tickets now on sale at eventbrite.ie for Gavin Duffy's Smart Marketing Seminar at the Gate Theatre Dublin.
Some things never change, but we have. Topaz is changing to Circle K, but don't worry, we'll still have Miles Fuels, our delicious food range and Simply Grey coffee. My customers kickstart their morning with our famous breakfast burritos. I'm Jennifer from Circle K Macroom. Circle K, new name, same people.
This Father's Day, say thanks, Dad, with something he'll really enjoy from Dunnes Stores, like a Lumio coffee machine and accessories half price. Or his favourite box of chocolates, including Cadbury Roses and Heroes, also half price. Save again with our €10 off every €50 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details. Minimum spend required.
We know life can go from one extreme to the other. That's why the limited edition Mitsubishi L200 Blackline offers the best of both worlds. Whether it's a long day's work or a short weekend trip, the new L200 Blackline is the perfect vehicle for every extreme. Get a 10% discount now on the canopy of your choice, free tow bar and free bedliner. Terms and conditions apply. The Mitsubishi L200 Blackline. Visit mitsubishimotors.ie for more.
The World Cup. The biggest stage for upsets, passion and opportunity. Your gut says to take advantage of every game, and your smarts say where to go. Because Betfair have had the best odds on the World Cup, so you always get the most from your bet. Betfair, where gut instinct meets smarts.
Data provided by TX Odds and BetRadar, based on Betfair Sportsbook average match odds over round since the 12th of March 2018. Full terms at betfair.com, 18 plus begambleaware.ie.
Don't miss your chance to save this summer with the Harvey Norman half-yearly clearance now on. Get the Ekai 32-inch LED Smart TV for just €299, saving you €50. Or get the Ekai 48-inch LED TV for just €349, saving you €200. Unbelievable value and interest-free finance terms available. And as always, we've matched all competitors' prices. The Harvey Norman half-yearly clearance in-store and online while stocks last.
No! Standard fees, terms and conditions apply, subject to assessment. Finance provided by Flexify Europe Limited. For full terms and conditions, visit harveynorman.ie/flexi-fi.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back to the football show. Dan Sticky in Drimmen has been in touch. Russia not only have the home crowd behind them, they have the added incentive of being sent to the gulag if they perform badly. For you snowflakes, that's you. The gulag, the gulag. Did I say the same thing there twice?
I think you did, yeah. I just thought you had it was like Jamba Jamba, to be honest.
So bad they named it twice.
Yeah.
The gulag is very, very bad place where avocado toast is not available.
No. That's, read a bit of Russian history, that's pretty dark in parts.
A man who's read a lot of Russian history, Dan, is John Duggan, and he's on the line from Moscow. Evening, John.
Nathan and Dan, how are you doing?
You managed to make it back to the hotel room. Kevin Kilbane is stuck in train queue hell. I would have thought the Beeb would have had the limo out for him, but no. Kilbane is stuck with the ordinary people, but you've made it back.
I came in on Monday and got my bearings, lads, so I snuck out. Now, I wasn't able to come on at 7 o'clock, but I was able to get back here for about 9 o'clock, so we're good to go now.
You managed to make it to the Luzhniki Stadium. I don't think anyone was expecting a 5-0 win for the Russians. What was it like outside the stadium afterwards?
It was joyous. It's really funny, lads. There was loads of fans from neutral countries there, like Colombia. I've seen more Colombians, I think, than any other team's fans so far in the last few days. You had, Peruvians, Argentinians, Uruguayans, some Japanese as well. So great, and lots of joyous Russian people chanting on the metro, having fun. After as you say, a surprise win, I think they'd be hoping for a 1 or 2-0 win. But Saudi Arabia lads were chronic. They were terrible, and like Suarez and Cavani would be licking their lips And it'll probably come down to the Egypt game now for Russia to see if they get through to the last 16.
Yeah, because we were talking about that. So the first half an hour, it seemed as though Saudi Arabia were able to hold their own. They got the ball down without ever really looking like they were going to threaten the Russian goal. But then just the pure power of the Russian side seemed to take over. But were Saudi Arabia that bad that actually maybe we shouldn't be reading that much into a 5-0 win for Russia? Does it suggest that Russia are a lot better than we thought they were?
It's probably a bit of both. I think that Saudi Arabia were really, really poor. They left probably one of their better players. What's his name? Fahad Al Mahala out. I think he's only one of the only players who plays outside the Middle East. He didn't come on until the second half. I think they call him the Saudi Arabian Messi, but he mustn't be that rated if he didn't start the game. But the Russians, look, they got on the front foot. I think Golovin is their best player. And when Alan Zhigoyev went out with a hamstring injury, they moved him more centrally, and then Denis Cheryshev came on the left and scored twice. And the second goal was a beauty, an absolute beauty, a lob on the outside of the boot. Spent most of his time in Spain. His dad actually used to assist Unai Emery at Seville, which is one interesting thing I read about him. But yeah, look, it's great in front of Vladimir Putin, in front of 80,000 fans, most of them Russian. Like, they've got off to a great start. If they make the last 16, I think they'll see it as a successful tournament. But if they lose to Egypt, I think it'll be all obviously worth nothing now.
An awful lot of the reaction that seems to be coming back from the journalists who are there is that the Russian people couldn't be more helpful, that they're very friendly, they're really enjoying this experience of hosting a World Cup. There's a lot of smiles on people's faces. Like, is that your sense when you're outside the stadium today and comparing it to being outside other stadiums in London or here in Dublin? Like, is it a similar atmosphere? Is there that freedom to be joyous, to let yourself go?
There is that freedom, absolutely. I was there from early in the day when doing World Cup Daily. I went down early to do that, and an absolute carnival. It was fantastic. You had lots of different nationalities, like music playing, drums banging, people having fun. When you get to the security aspect, that's when it gets serious for about 5 minutes, and it's very thorough. And when we were walking back to the metro, I've never seen anything like this. When you're walking down a corridor in a hotel room, it's quite narrow. So, like, think of a corridor in a hotel room. On either side of the corridor were police in a line. And that's your route to the metro, walking from there to the metro. So that is quite novel and new. But the police, when you're speaking to them, they're extremely pleasant. But it's a case of, these are the lines, do not go outside of the lines. I think it's going to be the safest World Cup in ways. But the fact that I came back to my hotel, which is not the Four Seasons, lads, and that's fine because I'm very lucky to be here. But I came back to my hotel this evening, there were 4 police in the hotel. Yeah. So it is very, very. I think they're just treating it as a very, an international event that they're taken very seriously in terms of people's enjoyment.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of half answered the next question there, John. Like, you're describing the scene around the stadium, but is there like a central hub in the centre of the city as well, like around Red Square or whatever? Are we sort of seeing stacks of fans sort of congregating around there too?
Yeah, so we put a couple of videos up on Instagram or stories during the week. There's a kind of countdown clock. I don't know what it's going to be replaced with now, but that's just like everything is pretty much. I was surprised by this, that maybe I didn't do enough research, but you got the Kremlin, you got Red Square, you got the Bolshoi. It's all pretty much in the same square kilometre. Yeah, there is that kind of area, Dan, that people can congregate in on the steps just in front of Red Square, and that's where the people play their music and have the fun and start chanting and doing that. So that's where we are from this morning, and I think that'll only accelerate as more teams fly into Moscow, like Argentina and Iceland, of course, Saturday, Germany, Mexico. On Sunday, we got Poland, Senegal, Portugal, Morocco next week. Can't wait. I'm
not sure how good your Russian is, but I'm sure you've been having a look at the Russian papers. Like, is it all about the Russian national team, or is it all about what's going on with the Spanish national team?
I haven't actually seen much, to be honest. I got a Metro today. But one weird thing about the Metro here, there's no news agents in Metros. Nothing. It's very, very it's very bare. And there's no, you can't buy, a bottle of water or some chocolate or anything like that. I was given a Metro by a lady who had Igor Akinfeev on the front cover this morning, but I haven't been, sitting down with a cup of coffee and sifting through it. To be honest, I haven't had the time.
Gotta relax yourself, John.
Lads, this is about 25-hour days. This is about the World Cup and giving it absolutely everything.
Dan wants to ask you a load of really boring questions because he's going to be over there next week about how much taxis cost and where the Wi-Fi is good.
We'll just save it. We're not putting it on there.
I'm refusing to let him do that.
Will sort you out. Yeah. Dan will sort you out. I've got that all under my belt over the last few days, so that I don't have to worry about it going forward.
All right, you can talk about that on WhatsApp or something.
Somewhere where we won't inflict on
the listeners. The weekend, as you say, there's a lot of games to look forward to. To get down to Spain, Portugal to Sochi is probably about a 4-hour flight. So I can't imagine you're making that.
No, that's not happening. Like in my kind of dream phase a couple of months ago, I was thinking I'll go to Volgograd on Monday and fly back, and it's not happening either. I'm spending most of my time in Moscow, including the last 16. No, I'll be obviously on World Cup Daily tomorrow and going through the matches with Owen and Phil. Like a lot of previews. Of course, is Uruguay playing tomorrow. We've got Spain and Portugal, huge game now, given what happened to Lopetegui, and then the weekend's fair. So I think it's going to come thick and fast now, lads. And it's a kind of case of if you blink, you'll miss it. So I think the flights of fancy are out the window.
So next up, I think your plan is Argentina, Iceland on Saturday. Argentina, they'll have the press conference tomorrow. Is Messi going to be there? Is that who you're waiting to hear from?
If I get to it, once again with logistics, I have to find out where it is. I think some of these press conferences can be kind of sanitized, to be honest. I hope that Messi's there, but I think they might have done something earlier in the week. What's Sampaoli going to say in terms of the way he's been looking at formations and that, because he's very much a high-pressing kind of coach. And do Argentina have the defensive and midfield prowess to be able to cope with that kind of style of play? Obviously, they've got brilliant attackers, but that's the most thing I'm interested in. They're the most enigmatic team, I think, in the whole competition. They could come unstuck in the group, or they could go quite a long way. I think I'm finding them very hard to work out. I think Brazil are quite straightforward to work out. I think France is straightforward to work out. I don't know about you guys, but I find Argentina quite difficult to work out.
Yeah. Do they know what their best 11 is right now? Do they know who? Obviously, they've had issues with Lanzini, who's had to pull out through injury. There have been problems with Icardi. Whether it's Higuain or whether it's Aguero who's up there alongside Messi, or whether they can play the three of them.
Yeah, and Dybala, they have so many sort of names to throw into the mix, but and the group will give them a chance, you would think, to showcase that, but it could have just come up unstuck in the round of 16 when they just can't defend, when they play against a really, really good side. So that is we've seen Argentina storm through tournaments before and then just disappoint you in one game.
Like it was the 2010 Maradona, Germany just absolutely took them to the finish.
Exactly. Yeah.
John, good stuff. Is there a statue now of Richard Dunn outside the Luzhniki since 2011?
No, but there is a doll of Vladimir that I got.
Do you bring that with you ever? Is that your passport around Moscow if any trouble kicks off? I am a supporter, I believe.
When you open it, you get Boris.
That's
and then when you open Boris, you get Mikhail.
That's impressive.
And what if you open Mikhail?
Kinder surprise.
Where does Joseph emerge?
There's actually a separate one. I actually have a separate Joseph one, which is Lenin inside. So it's obviously been occupying my time extremely well, apart from going to the game today. So.
All right, good stuff, John. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, World Cup Daily from midday tomorrow, and we'll chat to you, I'm sure, over the course of the weekend as well. John Duggan in Moscow, good luck. All right, we'll take a quick break.
Off the ball on News Talk.
Get €2,500 off a new Fiat Tipo and a diesel for the same price as a petrol from just €17,995. That saving will get you a pram that sings lullabies, a crib with its own ensuite, and a bottle of champagne to drink the day they leave home. The new Fiat Tipo from €17,995 plus up to €2,500 off, and a diesel petrol price match. Visit your local dealer or go to fiat.ie. Applies to vehicles registered before 31st of July 2018. Price excludes delivery and related charges. T's and C's apply.
I've been head of security for my family, must be 35 years? Dog years, yeah. I deal with all the major threats, loud noises, postmen, squirrels. It's fine. AA Home Insurance takes care of the rest, house and contents, but that's just a backup. I've totally got this. I've got a nose for trouble. And bacon.
Did you know with AA Home Insurance you can claim up to €3,000 without losing your no claims discount? Go to the AA.ie and get €60 off today. Who's got clever home insurance? Minimum premium of €218. Covers one claim in any consecutive 3-year period of insurance. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. AA Ireland Limited trading as AA Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The World Cup. The biggest stage for upsets, passion and opportunity. Your gut says to take advantage of every game. and your smarts say where to go. Because Betfair have had the best odds on the World Cup, so you always get the most from your bet. Betfair, where gut instinct meets smarts.
Data provided by TX Odds and BetRadar, based on Betfair Sportsbook average match odds over round since the 12th of March 2018. Full terms at betfair.com, 18 plus begambleaware.ie.
As a first-time buyer, you're ideal for your family's unwanted furniture. There's your big sis right now, looking at that monstrous wardrobe thinking, ugh, that thing's gotta go. To Aoife's house. Well, at Ulster Bank, our new First 5 mortgage has 5 great benefits for first-time buyers, including a great low rate. It's helpful when you want to put your own stamp on your new place, not your sister's. Search Ulster Bank First 5. Ulster Bank. Help for what matters. Maximum loan to value is 90%. Security and insurance required. Product fees may apply. Over 18s only. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Warning, if you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Warning, if you do not keep up repayments, you may lose your home. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Get summer football ready with this exclusive competition at Curry's PC World.
Football?
I'm afraid so, but there's a 1 in 20 chance of a free TV.
So I don't have to watch football.
You can watch anything you want.
Okay, what do I do?
Just buy any TV 55 inches or larger.
I'm going to need Daddy for this.
He's gonna love it. We've got Ireland's largest range.
We'll let him watch the final. Maybe.
At Curry's PC World, we help you get it right. Entrance must be 18 or over, ROI only, ends 26th of June, full terms. Curry's PC World, freetv.ie.
Hi there. Here I am again at the 1933 Furniture Company in Navan. Well, you do have to get around to keep up with the latest styles and trends. And the 1933 Furniture Company is certainly worth the journey. Take their new range of Natuzzi sofas in soft Italian leather. Absolutely beautiful. From Parker Knoll and Neptune to Halo Living and more, you get real quality here at comfortable prices. The 1933 Furniture Company, Navan. Because good furniture is hard to find. Sale now on.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, that is us almost done for tonight. Are you going to be with us next week for you?
Possibly
dash
so,
off, or
yeah.
have you got commitments at home
No,
before you leave?
No. I mean, all commitments are off, pretty much, with the World Cup in session.
When's the League of Ireland taking a break?
Yeah, the League of Ireland have games tomorrow, which is unfortunate.
And next week there's Dundalk Cork.
No, that's the first. That's actually worked out well. That's the first rest day of the tournament.
Lovely.
Their mid-season break is after today, so it's actually they're not doing too badly. Portugal, Spain is the only thing that's killing them.
All right, tomorrow morning, OTB AM live at 7:45 AM. Get onto youtube.com/offtheball, facebook.com/offtheball, or follow us on Twitter. You'll be able to watch it all. Then it's World Cup Daily live a little bit earlier than normal, midday tomorrow with Owen Sheehan and Phil Egan. That'll be quickly followed at 1 o'clock by the Hurling Show with Shane Stapleton, for hurling snobs only.
Yeah.
It's an education for us.
I wouldn't be even allowed to watch it.
Non-hurling people.
Yeah.
But it's a really good show lined up tomorrow from 1 o'clock. Derek Honan and Jamie Wall are going to be in the studio. And then we're back on air tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Brian O'Driscoll is going to join us in the studio, looking ahead to Ireland's must-win second test against Australia and the crappy quiz as well. Dan, thanks as always, and to everybody who put the show together. Tom Dunn is up next. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Good luck.